Welcome to The Explainer, where we transform complex stories into clear visual guides. Today we're digging into a fascinating myth that turns a sacred symbol into something you might want to avoid.
The peepal tree, or Ashvatha, is a huge deal in Hindu tradition. It's deeply revered. But there's this warning that's been passed down for generations. Whatever you do, don't go near it at night. So why? Why does this incredibly sacred place carry such a dark superstition? So where does this all come from? Well, our story actually starts with a question from the great sage Shaunaka. He wanted to know why it's forbidden to rest under the peepal tree after dark, or even touch it on a Sunday. And the answer, well, it has nothing to do with botany. It's all about a forgotten divine drama. To really get to the bottom of this warning, we have to rewind way back to the churning of the cosmic ocean. This was a massive, epic event that brought forth all sorts of incredible treasures, like Amrita, the nectar of immortality. It also brought forth the beautiful goddess Lakshmi, who chose Lord Vishnu as her husband and went to live with him in the celestial paradise, Vaikuntha. Okay, so let's picture this. We're in Vaikuntha now, a realm of pure bliss and prosperity. But believe it or not, even in paradise, a problem was brewing. Lakshmi, though happy, had a really serious concern about her sister, the one who was born right alongside her but who everyone just seemed to ignore. See, while Lakshmi came from the ocean's treasures, her older sister, Alakshmi, was born from its impurities. We're talking the mud and the poison. She was the literal, actual embodiment of misfortune, arguments, and just all things bad. And because of her pretty unpleasant nature and appearance, absolutely no one would agree to marry her. I mean, the contrast here is just stark. On one side, you've got fortune and divine grace. On the other, misfortune and complete rejection. And according to tradition, it was a huge mistake to marry off a younger daughter before the elder. So this whole situation was a major celestial dilemma, and it caused so much distress that Lakshmi begged her husband Vishnu to find a solution. So, Lord Vishnu, the preserver of cosmic order, he comes up with a plan. But to solve this divine problem, he was going to need the help of one of his most virtuous and dedicated followers down on Earth. So Vishnu travels to the ashram of the great sage Uddalaka. And out of such profound respect and devotion, the sage agrees to the Lord's request without even hesitating. Just think about that. He would marry Alakshmi, the literal goddess of misfortune, just to prove his faith. But then, the wedding day comes, and when Alakshmi is brought to the ceremony, oh man, the other sages are just horrified. Her appearance was every bit as unpleasant as her nature. She was described as deformed, with coarse features and a really harsh voice. But, despite all the shock, the wedding went on, just as Vishnu had commanded. And this scene, this really gets to the core of the problem. As soon as she enters the sage's pure and sacred ashram, Alakshmi is physically repulsed. The sounds of Vedic chants were like torture to her, and the smoke from the holy fires felt unbearable. She just couldn't stand it, and ran right out into the street. At this point, the sage Uddalaka realizes this is an impossible situation. I mean, how could a being of pure bad luck ever live in a home that's dedicated to righteousness and worship? It just couldn't work. He knew he had to do something drastic. So he comes up with a plan. He takes Alakshmi deep into the forest, has her sit down under a large peepal tree, and then promises to come right back with all the food she would actually enjoy. Of course, it was a lie. The sage went straight back to his ashram and prayed to Vishnu to rescue him from this impossible marriage. Can you imagine? After 3 whole days of waiting, Alakshmi finally realizes she's been abandoned. Her wails of sorrow were so loud they reached the heavens, and Vishnu himself appeared before her. He offered her a place in Vaikuntha with her sister, but she flat out refused. She said she was born from impurity and could never, ever live in a good place. Instead, she demanded a kingdom of her very own, a domain that would perfectly suit her nature. She wanted to live in places filled with jealousy, greed, strife, and lies, the very energies she was made of. Hearing her demand, Lord Vishnu totally understood. He couldn't change her fundamental nature, but he could give her a place to dwell. And his solution would forever change how people saw the very tree she was sitting under. Vishnu declared that from that day on, the Ashwatha, or peepal tree, would have a dual identity,
A split personality, basically. It would be both a sacred place of worship and the official home for the goddess of misfortune.
So here's the deal Vishnu laid out. The tree was his own form. Worshipping it, especially on a Saturday, would bring you great merit. But at night and on Sundays, the tree becomes Alakshmi's shelter, her domain, a place filled with inauspicious energy.
And there it is. That's the root of the warning. Vishnu's final decree said that any human who sat under the tree at night was basically inviting Alakshmi to enter their body. Her misfortune would become their misfortune, dooming them to suffer. So that folk rule is a direct consequence of this divine curse. And so, what seems like a simple superstition is actually the echo of a huge cosmic drama about two divine sisters and the balancing act between fortune and misfortune. It really makes you wonder, right? How many other everyday customs are guided by these forgotten stories, hiding right there in plain sight?